In this life, we often experience tests and trials and storms of life. Not all of them end happily ever after, at least on this side of heaven. So what is a believer to do when a trial seems so great and does not offer any hope at all? Well, consider Psalm 88 and stay tuned. In Psalm 88, we find one of the most utter, prolonged cries of despair. Take time to read it. In the opening, in verse 1, it opens by saying, "O Lord, God of my salvation, I cry out day and night before you." This psalm never comes to a climax or offers any hint of hope, and it ends even more desperately than it begins. And just when the psalmist admits feeling abandoned by God, his loved ones are taken from him. In the last verse, he is left to navigate the darkness alone. There is not a happy ending in this psalm. And yet, his calling out to God in the trial demonstrates faith, belief, and trust in God, while the writer perseveres through the trial. Oh, how do we deal with our own misery when we are confronted by life events that look just like a tragic psalm like this Psalm 88? How do we respond to God in the midst of our own personal trials? Well, we can start with what the psalmist did. Despite his prolonged suffering, he acknowledges God. Although his troubles are still present, he recognizes God as his deliverer, and he appeals to God's reputation as a God of wonders, deserving of praise in both the good and the bad times. He appeals to God's loyal love, faithfulness, and righteousness. And in verse 11, he asks a few questions, and they're intended to produce an obvious inside yourself, yes, of course, response. He asks, is your loyal love told of in the grave? Well, yes, of course it is. Or is your faithfulness found in the underworld? Yes. Are your wonders known in the darkness? Yes. Is your righteousness found in the land of forgetfulness? Yes, of course it is. Oh, what faith this person had in the midst of their despair. And I wonder, how is it with your soul today, my friend, while you are going through your trial? The writer of Psalm 88 never ever arrives or comes to a place where he's able to express even a glimmer of hope. But through cries, questions, and torment, he holds on to what he knows to be true about God, carefully reminding himself about who God is. I pray, my friend, that it will be the same with you. May you pass your tests and grow in your faith. So trust God. Remember who he is. Hang on and know Christ is coming.